This is Mark with Not Square Design, and I'm working on the building over in Washington. And I've been working on it a few weeks now, and was having some trouble making headway. And you can see the scan. It's gorgeous. I mean, we've got just a ton of information, and these units are so tight in here, and we've still got some very good information on this wall. Um, this lower unit here was occupied, so one thing we made a little error on was not getting access to that. But the building's symmetrical, so whatever I got in this wall, I can mirror to this wall, and as long as the windows line up, we should be good. So as I'm doing this north wall recording, I came across a problem, and it's not something that'll be detrimental to the success of the project, but the project will be estimated in one portion of the building for the simple fact that we did not gain access to the occupied unit to scan the interior. So as I've been cleaning up this north wall, I noticed that I'm missing a bunch of information, and that's pretty easy to see when you go into the orbit view, since we don't have the inside of this wall except upstairs. Now upstairs I do, and I've got all my studs, everything's in great location. Looks like our slice was good. You can see from the ceiling joists that I didn't lose any of this data on the wall build. But down below, you can see that the scan captured the inside, what it could see through the window. But all I have is the thin skin of the brick. I don't have a brick wall thickness. So I'm going to have to duplicate that from the other side of the building. And knowing these old buildings, it will be symmetrical, but maybe not with the exact locations of windows and stuff, but we will be modeling this. But what I wanted to get from this for information was the thickness of this brick. And I am definitely missing that information. Now, will it work to my advantage? There's a possibility, and that may occur here, where I've got this return, and I'll have to verify with the other side to see if what I'm seeing on this back is the brick depth, which would be pretty obvious that this is a half brick and a full brick. And so we'll see what the other side reveals when we get to that, and then when we put this into the model to create it, that's one thing that we should have got permission to go inside. And I'd have had a lot more cleanup because they've got furniture and all that jazz in there, but I would have also had a lot more information. So there are pluses and minuses to that, what we did there. What I'm looking at here is the kind of the overall scan, and you can see just how much we got. All these bubbles are the locations of the tripod as it was placed. There's one across the street, but to get all this information of the town, and including telephone lines, I mean, there's just a lot of data from scans located right in this general area. A lot of data. And what I need to do is one of the problems that I've been dealing with for weeks is trying to get rid of the foliage, or the fauna, the bushes and trees. And what I'm getting is I keep cutting out things that I need, because it's really hard to surgically remove stuff, especially when it's entangled within the staircases and stuff like that. And when you cut something out, if you don't take a thin slice, then you end up taking out a whole bunch. But I hadn't dealt with a project with this much foliage previously. So last night I came up with a plan, and I'm going to try to implement it today. So one thing is I'm using ReCap Pro, which I purchased. I used to just use the ReCap trial version, and then when the trial version expired, you were left with a version that had some limited capabilities. But now it's become so limited, they changed it, that I really can't do anything. So I did go ahead and purchase it. So I'm going to hit top and zoom out over my whole scan. And I'm going to just get rid of some stuff. So I want the center line. You can see the yellow center line here. Let me turn my cursor on there. There's a yellow center line through here of the center of the street. And I want to keep that. But I don't need this. So I'm going to delete that. Now that I've deleted some data, I don't want to do it accidentally on my masterpiece. So I'm going to come here to save and save as immediately. And then what I'm going to try and chisel out of this one is I'm going to go for the south wall. And so if I look down, I have a north wall house. I'm going to click on that and just change this to say south wall. There is a detached garage that I'm going to be dealing with on this property. So I'm going to make this south wall house because we'll also have a south wall garage. So hit save, and now I can start deleting stuff all I want. When you hit save, it's going to remove 3D points in the point cloud. You can remove your real view, which are those bubbles, all the little interior views, and I'll show you one of those here quickly. And here's a real view thing down here. But I don't want to get rid of those, so I just want to get rid of these 3D point cloud only and say OK. Now, the first time it does it, you're getting rid of a lot of points. So it takes it's not long, but I mean, it takes a minute or so, or 30 seconds, but to cruise through this and get rid of those points. But from then on, you're actually working with such a much smaller file that it just starts to go very quick. And so I can zoom in, and one little trick I like to do is make sure, first off, that I'm not in. I can turn my mirror balls off, but we'll show you those in a minute. But I'm going to turn my perspective off. So now I'm straight on flat. I should have done that before I even took away those first points. But here's the mirror balls. If I click on one, you can see that's a real view. So I can click into the real view, and it'll load that scan. And so now I can actually look around from that exact point. And just so you know, you can at any point switch over to just another real view, and then you can take a look and see the actual image that was captured in case you can't really define something in your scan and you're trying to figure out what something is. You can use these real views to do that and see what you're looking at from each of these perspectives, and they come in very handy. So sometimes I'll turn them off just if they're in my way, but if not, I'll just stay in this 3D view, and I'm in top, and my street's down here. I'm going to use my window one more time and get closer to the center line of that street, and then use my delete key and get rid of those points. Now my building is here, and my alley's right here. So I don't need anything behind the alley. So let's just kind of get close to it just to make this thing smaller and get rid of that stuff. Now that I've gotten rid of both of those, I'm going to rotate it. So now north is to my left now. So, it's the way that Ryan and I work together. I can come over, and this is the roof of the house next door. So I know I can get really a lot of that and get rid of it. And so I can delete that. And then I could come in and I can just delete this. Now, what's cool about ReCap is I can grab backwards. So it's instead of being in AutoCAD where you're windowing or crossing, you're just selecting because they're point in the point cloud. So I can get rid of all that. Zoom in, see what I've got, what I like, what I don't like. It's kind of weird that my tree's still sticking out, as if I still have perspective. Oh, perspective is on. So it's kind of dangerous to be clipping with perspective on. So turn the perspective off. Let's delete that. Come in a little closer on my building. And I want to get rid of my fence in between. So maybe we'll leave this good for right now. Let's get closer to the yellow line, because that's all I want is just the yellow line. That's my marker. It's nice and bright. I can see it. Now I'm going to come up and come closer. Over here, I know that the fence line is it's about there. So now I can delete this. Now, right now I can hit save, and it's going to save my south wall. Again, make sure it's point cloud only. Hit OK. So you can see it's much faster. But this one's called south wall, and so all I want to preserve is this. So before I do that, I'm going to do a save as, so I don't have to cut this back down to this every time to do each of the 4 walls. I'll already have this set up. So let's just do a save as, and I should have just named it this first, would have been the smarter thing. And I'll put we'll just call this full lot with fences, to describe that I captured the fences within this. And I'm pretty sure I got the one on the right. I'm not entirely sure. So remove shouldn't have to remove anything. This is doing a full creation of the file, which means all the RCS are being saved. There's several different file types that tie together to create the whole thing. And so it's tying those together right now. And then once that's done, we can go back and simply tell it that we're going to just open up the one that we were working on, which was the south wall. So I'm going to open the south wall. And why didn't just do it? Scan files. South wall house. Full lot fences. There we go. It's changing. Okay. So now that I've got that, I can grab this, come right up to that wall. I won't get too close because I don't know how thick the brick is at the bottom. For right now, let's just do this much of it. And let's hit delete. And see all these points. And so that's when it's telling you, when you're doing this save, optimize to get rid of those real views. We'll get rid of all that data. And I don't want to get rid of that data. So I'm just getting rid of my point cloud only. So that's really what it's asking you. Now I want terrain all the way out in both directions. So I'm going to keep that. And then here, I'm not interested in the fences. I'm interested in the building. So on this one, I'm going to come in to where I think I'm close to the building, but I'm not going to cut off any brick ledge or anything I need. And then again, I can hit the delete button, or I can hit this down here, and now that's gone. So as I get in closer and closer, now I can do something like, let's look at the side. And when I look at the side view, I've got some trees. I got a bunch of stuff that's nothing to do with the building, but I want to keep my terrain. So I'm going to switch instead of this. Well, let's do a quick one with this. Why not? I will come down and get close to the ground. And I haven't captured the roof that was here. And then let's just delete that. All that data is gone. This is just a down drain pipe. If you don't know what things are, or you have uneven terrain, switch to fence. And so I've got here, I'll come down, across. Now I'm being a little cautious because I'm trying to keep one continuous terrain line so that I can actually do a section cut, which is what I'm going to develop. Is this will be elevation, but then there's also going to be sections, and so there'll be ones through the center of the building. And so I'm trying to go ahead and get rid of just little leaves and stuff on the ground, but I don't want to get rid of the ground itself. And I accidentally might. So when I hit delete here, if I take this real quick and just take a look, did I accidentally get rid of anything? And you can see this black area right here? I may have actually gotten rid of some data, but if it's a, some unmowed lawn or stuff like that, some piled up leaves, I can still get a pretty decent average of my terrain, which is really what I'm after in this particular location. So I've got a tree right there that I can get rid of. Now here, sometimes to do the quick cleanup, one quick thing to do is turn off these balls. Now they're not in your way, because one thing about them is if I do have them on, and let's say I want to start drawing a fence, I can't start drawing it within a ball because it's going to take me to the real view. So I'll turn them off at times, and then I can do my removal surgically. Again, I don't want to lose anything important. Now I'm going to lose some ground here. And so, yeah, that's kind of hazardous. But I'm going to at least know where that post is, right at that location. What I'm going to lose is back here in 3D, I am losing some ground, but I still will be able to average what I've got going on. So delete, come along here, and just start taking pieces out and rotate and whatever you need to do to start getting rid of information that you don't need, such as that downspout, these wires, this drain tube. I won't need that drain tube to create the building, and for what we're working on, I don't want to show that anyway. Now this is the old downspout for what would be a propagator. So I might leave that for now. And maybe I'll take it out before I do this whole wall. But for this cleanup, I can also still do a save as and save it, such and such with blah blah. So you can keep creating different names. Now here I'm just getting rid of a bunch of foliage, and you can see I've got a roof line, and as long as I don't cut that off, I'm in great shape. So come up here, 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 and when I take out a chunk of tree like this, then when I rotate it, I can actually see a whole bunch that can easily be pulled out of the picture. So yeah, you see that now it's getting freer of the building, and surgically removing it is just a matter of finding it and getting rid of it. So getting rid of a bunch of this is pretty fast out here. So I'm just going to get rid of a bunch of it by going back to my fence tool. I'll come in here, click it over. I'm not going to mess with this because it's too dark. I don't want to screw up, because I did capture the outside edge of this column and nothing more. So it's not like if I take a little piece of it that I'm going to see the wood behind it, because the scanner doesn't see through the object. So it's just the surface. So if you get rid of any of the surface, now see I got too close to a line there and see it shot off into space. I don't know why ReCap does that. If you get too close to your border, it will do that on you. Sometimes I'll start over here, and it's like if I get too close to that, see how it shoots over there? Boom. Can I come down to here? I can. There we go. Now I can do more work without worrying about it shooting off into space. Now let's stay away from my structure for here. We'll get that from, I'll get more and more closer and closer to the object itself as I go along, because I don't want to lose good information. And I am doing what's called a destructive method. So this is, I'm deleting these points permanently from this file. That's why I renamed it. So I still have all the information recorded, but I am deleting it from what I'm working on right now and for good. And it's gone. So if I rotate it and I accidentally sliced a piece of the column off, you'll see a blank edge there. It'll have a hole in it. So to get closer, again, now that I've done some of that, you can see I can rotate. I can see more leaf. I can zoom out, zoom in. Got a whole big thing out here. I've got a truck or a van. So sometimes if you take a look at where you're at, and you might say, oh, well, let's just go to the back for a second. Let's get rid of a van. At least to the terrain point, I might have some tires still there. But let's just come in here and grab a bunch of stuff without feeling that. See, that feels to me like I might cut some ground out that I might want. So that's probably too much. So I'm going to escape and just start that over. There, there, there. Let's come back to where I feel like, no, I'm not going to ruin anything. Because you come back and keep taking things away. That's not a problem, but you can't put it back. Well, you can, because that's how we're going to sew this together. So the game plan is to get these 4 walls isolated, and then I'm going to import them into each other and hopefully create just the shell of the building to create my model from. That was my brainchild last night, but it's untested at this point. So we will see if this works. Doing this video in part because there's not a lot of great information out there on how to use this. Autodesk is, as normal, is horrible with their support, and their information on using this program is very limited. Something I've really got a beef with them on is their support materials they're pretty bad. Now, this might be where the fence is. I might have accidentally just cut the fence out, so let's take a look real quick. Where's the curb? I think I got the fence out of there. Might be back here. Oh, this is the other side of the house. There is no fence on this side. I'm in good shape. Alright, so let's get ourselves straight again, which zooms you way out. Now you can reduce that. There's some problems with doing that. But if you wanted to, you can go to like a 3D view, and you could do a limit box, edit your limit box, and pull these edges in. And this is also something that's kind of bizarre, is how do you get them to move but hit the escape key, and then you can make it smaller. So you can reduce this whole thing down to this size. Now, I'm not doing that because I'm afraid that if I do, I'm going to escape. I'm afraid that if I do, that it may not be able to seam itself back together. So I'm leaving that limit box to be completely the same. Now, here's one thing. If I go edit and I grab it, I pull it in, for the purposes of what I'm doing, this you can do. I'll show you how to do this real quick. Now I want to go to the other side, because you can't grab this one and pull it in. You can't grab the back one and pull it forward. So you got to go to the opposite corner to do that. It's another kind of. They could have made the program better. They could have made it better, but they didn't. And there may be limitations I'm not aware of, but somebody hit confirm. Now on my limit box, I can hit reset. So let's do something here real quick, just for the fun of it. I'm going to do a save as, and we're just going to say, I'm going to put in parentheses, limit. And when I save this, what I'm interested in is, okay, if I remove it, yes, go ahead and remove all this extraneous data. So now when I'm removing the data, what I'm concerned with is, am I going to be removing my ability to seam these back together by importing them one into another? because the points for the limit box won't be there to help it find itself. So I'm unclear as to what would happen. So if I go back here to reset, or if I even just go to edit, yeah, you can see it's now small. And when I go to reset, it won't, because I did that save as with this limit. So I'll keep this just to try and import it at some point, and let's see what happens. Then I can learn something. But yeah, I'm not sure how that will affect my ability to stitch the buildings back together. So I'm curious on that. Got some experimentation to do to figure out what's going to happen. Now that's the old downspout that they put in just a plumbing elbow on and turned it out to go to the alley. Temporary fix to a clogged up problem that they had. But I think part of the solution to this will be, I might cut off a stair if I go that low. So let's go here, here, here. Delete that. Come in here and come down. But again, I don't want to lose my grade at this location, so I'm going to be a little cautious. And then this is the old downspout, but it's in pretty bad shape. So I think I could get rid of it as long as I'm sure I'm not getting what I need behind it. So there's a post here, and where does it go to? Well, unclear. So I might have to find that at an angle. Might not be able to do that from straight on. So I'm just gonna take care of a couple things straight on, and then I'll start turning it. I'm gonna clean this up some more, and then what I need to do on this one, that I'll show you what I'm gonna do, but I'll do it on pause so you don't have to watch it because it's gonna be painful. So down here on this lower level, we've got a brick veneer on the exterior, and on the interior I've got my wood frame wall, and so I've got to determine the thickness of all these different materials in order to recreate this. So it's figuring out how many layers of brick I have on the upper and more so the lower layer. And that's the information that I want to preserve, especially that lower. So that's my foundation, and I need to know. So I got shelving and all sorts of stuff that's been kept in the basement that I'll clean out of there and get it down to just the building itself. So it'll be a matter of rotating, cutting stuff out, saving it. But I'm going to go back to my non-limit one to do that. We'll just pull this back in as an experimental test later. Or I could have done, I guess, 4 of these little short things to prove my scenario, and then I wouldn't have to rotate around such a big piece. But something tells me that that idea of stitching them back together may not work without the limit box being there. So hard to say. Anyway, I'm going to keep going on about cleaning this up, and then I'll continue the recording. So down in the basement of this building, there's a lot of stored items, and this is just in the slice for the south wall, so I can't see a whole lot of it, but when I rotate it, you can see all this shelving and stuff in here, but you can't just take a shot of it because I can't see where it is. I'm going to grab stuff that I want and throw it away. What you're seeing there is actually plants that were up against the wall that blocked the scan of the wall. So when I remove the plants, it looks like there's holes in the wall, but they're not. It's just a shadow almost. So you kind of got to work around that sort of thing. But to get to items like these, if I'm determined that I want to get rid of them, I can use a limit box and narrow down my selectable area temporarily without changing the limit box permanently by just not saving whatever's happening right then and there. Now, I just happen to be sitting in an angle where I can see a whole lot of plant stuff. Just gonna get rid of it while I'm sitting there. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna hit limit box. It's gonna zoom me way out. Hit edit. Now, while I'm out like this, there's lots of things I can do. I can click this. When it turns green, I can move it. And so I can start cutting into what I'm looking at here. And now I've got it down to where it's the first floor. But I still can't see that well, so I need to make my limit box small enough that I can maneuver around. See how that didn't turn green. When it doesn't turn green, it's not going to change for you. There we go. Got it to turn green. Now, I don't care about the front porch, so I'm going to come up and I'm going to get rid of that front stuff to the wall. And I think it's so small I can't really see. But that's why I'm reducing the limit box right now, because once I do that, then I can zoom in closer. Whoops. So I want this edge to come in. And let's go all the way into the back of the building at least. And then let's go to this side. Grab this face. Oh, set on my cursor thing on again. Grab this food. It almost turned green on me. I don't want that. So I hit escape. And there we go. Got it green. Now I'm bringing it way in. Now I can zoom in on this and refine my limit box much better. So I can grab this guy and just bring it way up. Now let's go to this other corner opposite side. Now I can kind of see what I'm looking at here. And I want to get rid of those shells that are in there. I've got some sort of pipe thing out here. This looks like the column. So this is the deck. So that's probably a front wall right there. Let's rotate around and see what we're looking at. Oh, I can confirm, but if I confirm, I got to reset. So what I want to do is you can hold control. Oh no, that'll rotate the box. But I can keep using this guy. And sometimes it'll let me rotate it without selecting it, which it's not doing right there. There is a way to kind of do a rotation if you hit control. See this down at the bottom, there's a click to edit the box, or use tab to edit the dimensions. Hold control and click an edge to rotate the box. Now that doesn't do what you think. It doesn't rotate the box and the scanned objects. It just rotates the box in case you're not 90 degrees to something as you're bringing it in and out like this. You could change the angle of attack. So I'm going to bring it in that far. Now, let's zoom in, kind of see what I've got. I'd like this top, I think, down further. Get through the floor system. So there's my sheathing. There's my floor framing. And I probably have all of it about there. And I probably grabbed some extra, but I'm just looking to clean up. So that's probably pretty good. So what I can do now is I can confirm. And I always forget if I can still edit. Okay, so if I want to come in, if I'm not happy with this once I get going, I can still edit. So let's rotate around. And what have I got? I got maybe a shelf up there with some stuff on it. So I could probably just chop that all the way down. Only thing that concerns me is this down here. Is that the ground? Because look how it's kind of shaped. And I don't want to get rid of any of the grade that's in that crawl space, we'll call it. It's not really a basement. It is pretty much a crawl. Now this is shelving here. So now that I've got it to where I can see it. Or maybe that's the door. That could be... No, this is in the basement. So that's maybe some back wall and some dirt. So if I wanted to, I could see if I can edit this. And then I can't grab that part unless I go back in this corner, and then I grab it. Oh, didn't want to grab it. So this is where it's going to make, it wants me to turn it. See, reset, pick, options. Yeah, it's, once you've done this and you confirmed, sometimes it's not editable. And I haven't figured this part out yet. So if anybody knows anything, please put it in the comments. So you can hit these dimensions. So this is minus 0.25 feet or 26 feet. So I could just make it 0. And so I could just take this guy, delete, back, 0, enter. So that got rid of some. Looks like I've still got a little left. So if I'm at 0 and I want to go, let's just go 0.1. I didn't do it. My numbers lock appear to be on. Maybe you can't. Yeah, see, that's what it is. Okay. So yeah, that's putting in a little more. But yeah, I can't select it now. I can only edit these numbers. So I can hit delete 5. So it only lets you put in 4 digits after the decimal. And you just, I guess, keep trying to figure this out if you're that close. Otherwise, you got to reset and come back at it. So I'm just trying to get rid of that little bit of fluff there. And let's confirm it right now. And let's take a look. It's hard to tell if that's the back of a piece of wood or if that's the wall. Sometimes they're tough to deal with. This is, looks like dirt, maybe some boards that are down there, maybe a drain. For how cramped this was, I'm not sure that there's quite enough scans of this particular area to accomplish everything I want. But I'm just trying to get this wall right now. So let's get, I wanted to show you how to get rid of some stuff. So there's my wall, my actual masonry wall. So I can get rid of all this stuff right there without worrying about much of anything. So I'm going to grab from here, over to here, come up to here, out to here, and delete it. Now, before I go zooming out of there, I want to kind of see what I got. And it looks like I didn't hurt anything. And that's because I took the bottom of the building out. So I can't accidentally erase that. And when I'm done, so let's get rid of this guy here first. That's my shelving unit. And there's probably a bunch of crap and looks like some pipe work and stuff, but there's not enough detail that kind of, this looks contoured to me, like maybe there's some grade there. So I want to orbit it a little bit and see what I'm looking at, because I don't want to accidentally get rid of dirt. So yeah, it looks like I've got some dirt there, but a lot of pipe work. Maybe that's dirt. That might be dirt. When I zoom out far enough, I don't know if this scan is rich enough in detail. Maybe not as many points down here as I could have used for such a strange area. Probably needed a tighter scan with more detail for this part of the building. It just is difficult. Now this looks like I can get rid of all of that. So we're going to come in here, fence this. And let's come up. Looks like it bends a little here. So we'll come up. Now that might be dirt, so I'm going to leave this portion until I figure it out. And so let's just make this line straight. Oh, that's easy enough though. I can hit delete because now I can easily grab this separately and delete it. So getting a little more refined down there. Now this is that back portion that I'm a little worried about. But here's part of the drain pipe outside. Don't know what that is. That could be grade. Yeah, you can see that there. Boy, if I'm top, so let's go top. Now, I think I can pretty safely get rid of this. I can come back in. The thing I can do is later is I can come back in and do a floor. And as long as I've got stuff for it to tie to, in my theory, we got to prove this here. I'm gonna do a proof run pretty soon here. I just need to do one more wall because I'll have enough north and south to test this method here shortly. And if it'll seam it back together, then I'll know, hey, if I want to, I can come back in here later and put a floor back in here. What I don't want to lose is a face. Now I could easily get rid of the pipe right now. Don't know what that is. Looks like there's a gas line in here. A lot of kind of unimportant stuff. It was down here where, yeah, I've got pipes and stuff, but I swear I can see some grade. And if I rotate this ever so slightly, the pipes are round, so there's a good chance that I'm going to get rid of some dirt that's under there. And I wish I had a tighter scan down in an area like this with this much stuff to try and remove. I could have used a tighter scan, and I'll talk to Ryan about that. But when you talk to your guy who's doing your scan for you, he can control the amount of points per inch, per millimeter, whatever, however his machine works, that it will actually take. That's weird. What is that? That's definitely strange. Almost like there's a cloth or something, because this is up in the top. So I think that is, in my mind, that's removable. Whether or not it's important, I don't know entirely, but I don't think it's important to the exterior wall of this building, which is what I'm really after. Now, this wall back here, if I suck this in, I could probably turn it on end and then cut the pipes out this way, is to cut there, up, and over if this wasn't here. So to do that, I need to just come back to this again. Now I need to go to that corner because it has to face me to change it. Then I go to my limit box, hit edit, grab that guy, pull it in, see how it's gone? Boom, gone. Now I can't erase that stuff, so I hit confirm. In fact, let's do the other way too. So I'm going to go to this side. Now I'm going to go limit box, edit, and I'm going to pull this guy in. Oh, it doesn't want to move. So this is doing that same thing. Oh, there we go. Sometimes it's just persistence to get what you want. Okay, so that looks about right. Now if I wanted to, I could also, why that did what it just did, I don't know. So I'm going to bring that in a little closer. And then this is what I wanted to move. But I don't want to lose any pipes. See the first few dots disappear right there? So I'm going to bring it out, drop it. And if I want to, I can bring this down to my pipe. But there's one pipe at an angle. See it towards the right over here? So I don't want to lose that because I think I want to get rid of it. And now we're going to say confirm. And I've got a much smaller area to work with. So let's try the top. Let's try the end, left end. And let's cut out a bunch of this. So fence, and I'm going to go down this. Now, here's a trick too. If I'm looking for a straight line, now these are dirt walls, I believe. Yeah, so look how it's kind of even. It's not going to help me. Where sometimes you can get, by getting a length of line, I can use it. But I can use it to get partially down in here, that's for sure. So let's bring it down. Now bring it over until it's get close to that green vertical portion. Click. Come across, click, double click, and delete. Now we orbit. Almost everything is gone. So, what is that? Dirt? I don't know. I really don't. That looks like dirt back there. Maybe that's a pipe. And so I wish I had a little tighter scan. And then, but this guy, that is a pipe. And let's see if I can get to where I'm happy that I'm looking at the end of it. So I can get rid of it without getting rid of stuff that I want. It's maybe about right there. Let's just try it, because the one thing I can do, in fact, before I do this, I'm going to do save, because I'm happy with the guy I got going so far. Hit OK, boom. It's really quick now, because it just keeps getting smaller. Now I can fence this in. And delete it, and let's take a look. Orbit. Oh, I missed a bunch of it. Looks like I'm going to lose some wall with that. Then there's probably no way about not losing some wall, because it ghosted. It's like the shadow of those plants earlier, just a few moments ago in the video. So I'm going to go ahead and come down here, come out, over, up, delete. Now let's take a look. What I'm looking for is in the back here. What did I delete there? So maybe not too much. But yeah, I lost some wall, but I've got the flat plane. So, you can create regions too, but this makes your model huge. So I'm going to go ahead and save this. I think I've got good data. Now, what I mean by a region or a plane. So here's a plane. And I can pick a dot, a dot, a dot, 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 dot. And then it's 50 millimeters thick right now. Oh, didn't go to plane. There we go. Now it's blue. Dot. There, see the yellow dot. There. And at 50 millimeters thick, it's going to try and find this plane. So once I think I'm done, just hit enter. And see how it highlighted that? I can now create a new region and call this dirt wall or basement north wall or whatever I want to name it. And then I could start to add this to that same region and create this thing back there. But every time you create a region, that file size goes way up. So I found this not to be very useful. It's not a great tool. I haven't found a good use for it if I want my file size to remain small. So I'm not going to mess with it. Just to escape, and then go here, hit save. Now I need to go to my limit box, and we're going to reset this thing. Boom, all the way out. Everything's back. So I never saved that region or that box. I didn't save that. So I can always get back to here and have my whole model back. Go to home, and you can see if I hit limit box now, edit, see it's back to its original full size. And until I've run these tests with that one that I did with a smaller one to see if they'll glue together without being full size, I'm going to leave them this way. Because in this area, there are still a whole lot of mirror balls all over in there. So that's the reasoning behind it, is for me to be able to seam this together and for it to be able to find enough points and enough reference to itself to be able to stitch it into 4 walls and a roof and a floor and all that eventually, but 4 walls for now. So there's one more trick to show before we get into I'll stop this video and start another one to show how to bring elevations and such into AutoCAD. So if I come to the top and I've got some fence and stuff down here, some shrubs out back, it's hard to isolate like where that fence line is hidden because it's in the middle of these shrubs, so it's on both sides. You can see there's still some tires in this area. Turn my highlighter on. That doesn't help much with the yellow, but in this area, if you can see that. Little remnants, those really won't mess with me too much, but the shrubbery and stuff certainly will. So, like we've done in the past, I can create, let me get this to cruise down, with a window, create a bounding box. I'm going to pick this area here. Looks like I got partial of the stair there. Maybe I want it, maybe I don't. I'm going to go right next to it just to see what I can gather from it. And it looks like I did not grab the pole this time. So I'll come right out to the edge of that dark portion right here. That's where I'm after. So I'm going to pull it down so I see my light white line about at the edge of that. I'm going to let go. Then I'm going to clip outside to keep the interior. And then when I switch to like a top corner view, or you can even go to the home button, then I can zoom in on this a little bit and go to my limit box and hit edit. When you hit edit, you can take this green portion in and I can start to isolate out what I feel would be getting past that gate area. And this is me guessing a little bit. And then come around the backside and basically do the same thing. Here I'm more interested in, and it's hard to see with these dimensions in the way, but I need that garage roof to go away. Barely. Oh, maybe I don't even need it to go away. I might want to get rid of some stuff that's back there. So I'm going to leave the back by itself as it is, and I can come in and change that later anytime I want. The hard part about any of this is as you start creating these bounding boxes, if I really want to keep going with it, I need to create a new file. And I don't want to do that. I'm trying to clean up my master file. So when I confirm this, now I've got a pick zone here. And so I can go in, grab my orbit, and you can see I've almost got pure, in fact I just have pure bush, hedge. Looks like there's some terrain feature in there. I can see some of that. So when I grab this, I'm going to grab it by kind of contouring the slope a little. So I'll hit front, zoom in. Now I know I'm squared up. And then I've got to decide where I feel that terrain is and get rid of the other. But leave something so I've got a terrain trace going on. So I'm going to go fence. Not too worried about this stuff down here. So, oh, didn't grab it yet. There's my fence. So I can start drawing this fence in here and then stay above what this dark area that I think is the terrain, and come up to where I feel the base of the structure is, come up, out, double click, and all that shrubbery is gone. So before I move on, I like to orbit a little bit and see if I feel like I left my terrain. And I do. I feel like I left it pretty good. I still got some leaves and shrubbery up in there, so I'm just going to get a decent angle on that. Probably about there-ish. Just trying to see where I feel is too deep, that I'm going to start cutting terrain away. And I would say right away, I can grab this. Get rid of that. I certainly can get rid of this fluffy stuff on the top. And what it does when you do that, though, is it does kill off some of your indicator. So sometimes you might want to attack that in a bigger chunk. Depends on how familiar you are with what you've been working with. Hit my orbit tool. Let's rotate it around again, because I think I can say that my terrain is down here, and I could probably pull out all the upper fluff at least back in this section. So I'm going to get it squared up a little bit, go back to my fence tool, and let's cut this out of here. And then we have to do a check. because I may have really cut my terrain apart right there. So let's come back, orbit. Looks like I did cut the back of this out, but I probably have enough information retaining. If I didn't, I'd want to hit undo right now and you'd see it come back. Boom, there's some terrain probably coming back, but I don't think I need it because I think I have enough information for that small area. So I'm going to keep that. And then the idea is to get back to that full drawing once you've got. I'm going to go take care of this area back here now. So I'll go to my front. Let's zoom in on this. And yeah, look at all this tree. And there's a ladder back here I'm familiar with. And this slope, the lot is sloped towards me. So even though I'm in the front according to the cube, I'm not really squared off with the grade. So I want to square up my grade better in order to make this cut. Now what I'm losing is my square with the roof. So if I want to clean the building up, I should probably do that first. You can do it either way, but I'm going to do this first because I don't want to... Oh, didn't get my fence tool. There. To there. 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 Back. And then to make sure I'm not destroying my object, once again, I want to be a little on the safe side. Down into here. Come on across. You can see that that's probably terrain back in there, so I'm going to bounce around through here and get rid of stuff that I'm pretty darn sure. Now that's probably electrical or gas, and I'm really not concerned with that because we're redoing it all, so I don't need that information. Up, over, double click, delete. Oh, look at that. Killed off a bunch. Now this is where I do need to undo it and take another shot at it. I'm gonna hit escape. Something. Oh, what just happened there? I knocked myself clean out. Pause and I'll get back to where I was. So when I just did that, it kicked me out for some reason. I must have done something that was just too fast for my video card or something of that nature. So I've got to kind of repeat what I did on the front, and then we'll come around and clean up the back. So what it does mean is now we're kind of looking at it backwards from where I was before, but it's the same. It's the same items. So I'm going to come down to about, let's just say here. Oops, I got to stretch with the window. You have to actually hold the button. Come up to that black area that I had before, except now it's on the left. There's that. And the reason I want to do this again on video is just to show you that, hey, I screwed up and it booted me out. And so I couldn't hit save, which it gave me the opportunity to, but I had done the accidental cut of the garage, so I didn't want to save. So I'm going to fix this stuff, get back to where I was, and then restart the video, or start the video back up. So I'm back to where I was now, but I'm looking from the opposite direction. But it's still the same cut. So I'm just going to get the foliage that's around the garage roof, close stuff anyway, for right now. Come straight up, double click, get rid of that, and then this stuff becomes pretty easy to get rid of. And I know that there is it was in my other cut, so this may not be the same cut because I'm not seeing the ladder. So I'm looking at over here. Let me turn my highlighter back on. It's a little harder for me to see where I'm pointing at, but you can see it better. So this dark green, I'm going to say that's the terrain, so I'm kind of following it across to say, okay, it probably ends about there. So I don't lose that data for the ground is what I'm trying not to lose as the grade. I do know there's a lot of bush over here. I'm trying to get up fairly close to this, but I don't want to even get too close to that because it's just not that important to get it all in one step. I can come back and get more, but look at that big chunk. All that bush is gone. Now, to kind of just, I mean, we can go through this forever, and that door that I'm looking at to my right where I'm cutting out right now, that's open and I really don't even need to see it. So I could actually delete that door and get it out of my way, and I'll come back and do that later. But actually, you know what? I'm going to do it right now because it is hard sometimes to grab an exact section. So I'm going to cut it out, and then we're going to do a check real quick and just make sure that I didn't cut out stuff that I needed. And so we'll come across, and then I'll pull out here a little bit in space, delete that door. Now I can do a quick orbit tool, just check my terrain. Looks like I did a pretty good job. I didn't lose any building on either side. My roof is intact where I was trimming around it. I could do a little more trimming, and I'll get back to that. But to finish up what and how I'm doing this, what's important at this stage is to unclip all to start with and reset the limit box. So I'll reset the limit box first, or we don't even have a limit box at this moment. So the limit box that I had, it's full size right now. So the one thing you'd want to do, if it wasn't, would be hit this reset button. So you go to limit box reset, such as if, come on, edit for me. It doesn't want it. There we go. I'll just do one. So all I'd say is you'll come into, I'll hit confirm, and so what I'd want to do is come back to limit box and just hit reset is the first step. This is before you save the work that you did in deleting stuff. And then unclip all. So it brings back this whole image, and of course you're going to get some of your trees and stuff that were in here, but if you take a closer look, you'll notice that through the center a bunch of it's gone, and that's the cleanup I'm doing in sections. So I'm just picking sections because it's easier to work with pieces of it, because if I cut out the trees through here, I can not worry about where this is at and cut straight through all the way because I'm only looking at this portion at that time. So now that that's all reset and I've taken a look, it doesn't appear that I've lost needed, required data. I might be missing some fence down in here, but I do have a separate fence file that I can mend back into here, and or I think I can. We tried that method before, and that's what I'm doing now is I'm going through and using a different method because just cutting it out wasn't exactly working. So I'm going to just reduce the size of this down just to get a bunch of this out of the way. And then before I save again, I want to make sure I didn't kill anything I needed. So if I look here, you can see all that fence that's gone. I might have grabbed some of that just now, but I don't think so. But one thing you can do is you can point at it, take a look, and then come up here and undo, because you can always redo. Oh, look at that. All that fence area I accidentally cut out. So I don't want to lose that. So I'm just going to go here. I'm going to hit save. Say OK. And that's making sure that you don't lose data that you want. So all in all, it's just a matter of keep going through in sections, get it all cleaned up, and then I can start parsing out what I'm going to do for elevations, and I'll do that in the next lesson. This is Mark from Not Square Design. Thanks for checking this out. Hope it's helpful.